You can dance, you can cry, having the time of your life. Ooh, see that girl, watch that scene, singing the dancing queen. Friday night and the lights are low.
I don't know this part.
That's the only part I know. It sounded like I was about to go into it. That's the only part I know.
Okay.
Was that our practice, or do you want to just do that one? Let's just do that one, for sure. I like it. We're recording now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. So then when we edit the video, I can just do the video if you want me to and send that to you too.
Okay.
It literally is so easy to edit. I just don't have good software to like cut certain parts out. So it's just on this app that I have to do it, and I can just cut the ends off. Is the only thing. So we'll just cut out Music Monday from the video. We'll do an outro for the video, cut that out of the podcast, then Music Monday, then do the podcast outro.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. I'm ready.
38.
Yeah, do we know anybody that's 38? I don't know. 39 is going to be weird too. We're going to get weird for a little bit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee and Contemplation. This is episode 38. It is the Monday after Super Bowl 55. I am Cameron, and with me, as always, Brent Schaefer.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast.
Yep.
How you doing today, Cam? How you doing post Super Bowl? You had to work yesterday at a job that is very heavy on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so surprisingly, it wasn't as busy as everybody was anticipating. Still very busy. We made about 10 grand.
It's a good day.
So not too bad. Everybody was doing their jobs correctly. It was very organized. Never had to remake orders that I really remember. We might have had to do one or two.
Sure, I'm sure there's something might have slipped through at some point.
But yeah, so
Nice, very cool. Well, I'm glad you survived and made it here.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried I was gonna have to do this podcast solo from now on, and I don't think anybody would watch that.
nope, it's on me.
Maybe my mom and my aunt, but even then, probably not.
No.
I think they watch it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Their actual child that they want to adopt. And they've told me that before. Have I told you that?
You've told me that.
My parents want to adopt you?
Yep.
Yep. Cool. Must be nice to be loved.
Yeah, it is. But yeah.
So let's talk about the Super Bowl for a minute. What is your takeaway from the Super Bowl?
So I'm very happy Shaq Barrett won his second Super Bowl ring.
Dude, he went crazy.
That whole Buccaneers defense went crazy, not just him.
Mm-hmm.
To hold the Chiefs to only 9 points and not even allow a touchdown is crazy.
Crazy.
And then Tom Brady wins his 7th, which is insane. And I really want him to get to 9.
Why 9?
Because of Ferris Bueller. 9.
Oh, yeah, 9 times. They showed a crazy stat at the end of the game last night that the New England Patriots have 6 Super Bowls, all with Tom Brady. The Pittsburgh Steelers have 6 Super Bowls, both the most in NFL history, if you don't include the Packers championships before it was called the Super Bowl. But, Tom Brady has 7 by himself. Not by himself, obviously not by himself, but as on his own, he has 7. That's insanity, dude. He's the greatest of all time, right?
Yeah.
Like even if you don't like him that much, he's got to be the greatest of all time now. But yeah, dude, Patrick Mahomes was just running for his life the whole game. And still, he made some insane throws while he was getting tackled in midair, falling sideways. Did you see the meme of the guy from Dodgeball throwing the ball sideways, Ben Stiller's character?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like the same thing Patrick Mahomes is doing. But dude, his receivers just couldn't catch the ball. It was insane.
The one you're talking about, I believe, when he's like almost on the ground, but he's like standing up, but he's like vertical, basically.
Yep, yeah. It's like parallel to the floor.
Parallel, diagonal.
Yeah. Diagonally. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got my Ravenclaw shirt on today also that Cam bought for me.
I mean, you've Venmoed it for me.
You bought it for me.
Okay. That is from Super Carlin Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, the throw.
It hit Tyreek Hill in the face.
Right in the face mask. Right through his fingers in the face mask. And at first, the announcers were like, oh, what good defense on the play. Because it was third down, third and long. They're like, oh, what good defense. What good coverage. And then they watched it. They're like, oh, no, he just didn't catch the ball.
Yeah. First replay, when I saw it, it definitely looked like it got tipped or like something happened.
Right. It did look like it was good defense. But that was the one that's going around on Twitter as the meme of Patrick Mahomes, his face, when he's just sitting there on the floor and he just looks stunned.
That's right.
Because he made like just an unbelievable throw. Like if they had made that catch, that would be a Super Bowl highlight forever. Even the fact that they were down a couple touchdowns at that point. But that would have been like the helmet catch. Like the fact that he got that throw out so perfectly is insanity, dude. And yeah, that's why he came up in Patrick Mahomes. If you haven't seen the meme, his face is just in shock, like just disbelief. But yeah, 31-9 was the final score, which nobody really saw coming. A lot of people thought the Buccaneers could win, but no one thought they would blow out the defense, let alone hold them to no touchdowns.
Exactly. A lot of people thought it'd be a blowout. The over-under was at 56, and it was only 40.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember one of your coworkers was asking me, or not asking me, but we were talking, and he's like, I'm thinking about betting the over. And I was like, what's the over? And he said 56, and I was like, oh, you should bet that over, for sure. Bad advice if you did it. But he was already thinking about doing it before I told him to, okay?
Was that Brody?
It was Brody, yeah. He goes, I was like, dude, they're both going to score like 30 easy. That's 60 points. But then I did say, there's a reason, like Vegas is always so close with the odds. They always know, they know something. Like, I'm not saying it's sketchy, but that's all they do, right? And like if the over is like, let's say it is 56, usually it's going to be right around 55 or 57. Like usually it's unbelievable how close the odds are all the time. But this time a little bit less so with only 40. But I would have bet that if I was a betting guy on sports, I would have bet the over for sure.
Pete won us pretzels.
Won? How did he win them?
They did a manager's pool on the over-under.
Oh, that's cool.
He took the under. It was 48 for the manager's pool, I believe, and he took the under on that.
Very nice. Smart guy.
Yep.
See, Pete knows.
Yeah.
All right, Cam. Is there anything else you want to say about the Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah, it's a good. I'm just happy too that the NFL, much like baseball and the NBA, was able to get through the whole season. They didn't miss a single game. They postponed a couple, but they ended up playing them later on. So big congratulations to that, because I feel like that would be the hardest sport to do given because like in baseball you're a little separated. Basketball they quarantined in the bubble, and then NFL got through the whole season. So congratulations to them, and now we just look forward to the off season and we see how next season goes.
Yeah.
They already have power rankings for next year. Did you see that? They literally put them out an hour after the Super Bowl. It's Chiefs are number 1, Bills are number 2, Packers are number 3, Bucks are number 4. I don't remember 5 through 9. I remember Cleveland was like 7, Seattle was like 8, and the Titans were 10.
I see.
So it's just funny because they always do that, like way too early predictions, you know. But I always like that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's fun to talk about stuff. That's why we do a podcast.
Exactly.
Coffee and Contemplation at @C_podcast. Coffee _ C podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, Cam. So WandaVision. Oh, nope. Video people, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear it. Okay, I don't want to hear it. Just your face. WandaVision, episode 5. We're officially more than halfway through now.
Yep.
What'd you think of the 5th episode, Cameron? Nutty is the word I would use for it.
That's all I have to say.
That's not all you have to say. Better. Okay. So
definitely the best episode in this season.
I agree. I think they're just getting better as they go, you know. I thought it was going to be hard to beat 4 because 4 starts with the snap in the hospital and everything, or the
yeah.
What's the other word that they called it?
Blip.
The blip. So the blip is when they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it started with the blip in the hospital when everybody starts coming back, and I was like, wow, episode 4 is going to be really hard to beat. But episode 5 was absolutely cool. The last 10 minutes was so intense. I don't even think I blinked.
No way.
Did you blink?
Yeah.
How many times did you blink?
Once.
Dang, that's infinitely more times than I blinked.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about the episode.
So, I liked how they still had like the sitcom style.
Absolutely.
And then it would go to
Which is like it's in the
sword.
80s now, right? Like so
Yeah.
they moved on to the next decade.
Yep. I think it's the 80s.
Yeah, the attire looked very
Yep.
80s. The one girl that we like from Step Brothers
Yep.
and stuff, she was wearing like the headband with the sweats and like the whole like 80s workout outfit.
Agnes is her name in
Agnes,
the
thank
show.
you,
Yeah.
thank you.
But yeah, and I like how, because it does the sitcom, then it also switches to Sword's perspective again, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear that whistling thing?
Here, just a little bit. Will you just turn the main down just a little bit and it should fix it?
To yours? Or
No,
yours?
just slide it down just a little bit. And then the rest I can edit out in post-processing just a little bit more.
There.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear it just a tiny bit, but I can take that out afterwards. Video listeners shouldn't hear that. That's coming through the board.
Yeah.
Hey. You were talking about
Sword's perspective.
yeah, how it switched to Sword's perspective again.
Yeah, I really liked how this episode goes from the sitcom style and then goes to Sword's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of what they're trying to do to see why Wanda's doing all of this. And then also you see Vision's point of view as well. Like
Yeah.
he's starting to like catch on
Yeah.
to something.
He's starting to catch on a little bit, right? And then he gets into that coworker's head. I don't remember his name, but he figures the guy's like, "You need to help me. You need to help me. She's controlling everything. I don't want to be here." And so he's starting to figure out that it's Wanda. But I think even more importantly than that is you kind of figure out it's basically confirmed that he's dead, right? Like he's like actually dead.
Yeah, he should be dead.
Because she goes to find his corpse.
Yeah. So it's just weird because how would he know that something's wrong if he's just like a illusion?
Right,
basically.
exactly. That's why it's confusing because I feel like that's going to be kind of like a twist that we find in the next couple episodes where he is dead. Obviously, he died in Infinity War. The Mind Stone got ripped out. Wanda breaks in to get his corpse, which was like a super intense scene because she's not a terrorist, but she also is an innocent.
Yeah,
what she's doing.
And she's also grieving.
Right.
But I also could see that she doesn't want them to bring him back and use him as like a weapon.
Right, because he said he was like, if I die, I want to be dismantled. I don't want to fall into the hands of any government, especially the U.S. government. Basically, is what he said. But that's basically what she's doing. She's not using him as a weapon, but she's bringing him back to against his will.
Yeah.
In a way. And even the one lady tells that to Wanda. She's like, he doesn't want this. Like you're giving him something he doesn't want. And Wanda's like, stay out of it. Super intense.
Yeah. There's you know how I am with the fan theories.
Oh, you love your fan theories.
Yeah. There's one floating around that it is not Wanda, like I said.
Mm-hmm. And that's still even after this week episode.
Yeah,
That's still
but
going.
it's not Mephisto. I figured out what his name was.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. But it's not him. But it could also be him and Agnes, because you know how Agnes always talks about Ralph, which is her husband, but we've never seen her.
You think
husband.
Agnes is in on the whole situation?
I think Agnes, because also when she mind controls people, in previous MCU films, their eyes are red while she's mind controlling them, and you don't see that in these things. But it could also be just because it's what she's portraying out to the sitcom.
Right.
So it could be a little different.
But their eyes could really be red, but she's making it look like they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so people think it could be Agnes, and then Ralph is Mephisto.
Okay.
Because
You haven't seen Ralph yet.
No.
Yeah, but she mentions him all the time. Yeah. It was also, that was when the episode started to get, I love how they're doing the sitcom thing like you said, but now they're adding elements of intenseness where people are starting to figure out that stuff is weird. I love that balancing act. And so very early on in the episode, they're talking and Agnes says something wrong. I don't remember exactly what she says. And then she's like, Wanda, do you want me to take that back?
Yeah,
and it's
from
just like,
the top.
yeah, do you want me to take that from the top? And it's just like quiet for a second, and Visions is behind her like, what? What do you mean? And she's like, oh, you silly, like we'll just do it again. And then and Visions is like, what's going on? And Wanda tries to explain it away, and that's like when things start getting weird. I love when those moments of the sitcom get broken by like, oh, like they're starting to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Shield members know exactly what's going on, but I'm excited to see when Vision really figures it out because he's close. He's very close.
And you see, and like, we still haven't seen this part in any of the episodes, but in one of the trailers, he's like at the wall, basically, of
The
Westview.
wall of the city, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, kind of like faltering in and out, and he's like standing right in front of it, so...
My fear is he's gonna figure it out. Like if he's standing at the wall and everything, that makes sense. He's already very suspicious of Wanda. I thought the scene was awesome when the credits roll because Wanda's like, "No, we're done talking about this," and then the credits start rolling, and what?
That's not how the credits roll.
Well, they start rolling. Wanda's like, he's like arguing with her in the kitchen, and then the credits start. The fake credits, the credits of the sitcom start rolling, and then Vision's like, "No, we're not done talking about this," and he like breaks through the credits. And like walks after her. Do you not remember that scene?
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. It was so freaking sweet, dude. The way it looked was so damn cool.
I just saw the credits rolling because that's after Pietro comes back.
No, this is even before that happens.
What?
Yeah. You're probably playing Animal Crossing, worried about your turnips. I thought it
was selling my turnips.
I thought that was maybe my favorite part of the whole episode. It's right before Pietro comes back, which will be the very next thing we get into.
Previously on one.
I guess it doesn't matter. Oh, I forgot the dog died.
Oh, that part.
Yeah. Where he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, no, we're not going to talk about this anymore. And then the credits start rolling, but he's like, no, we're not stopping.
Yes.
So it's like a fake ending, and it doesn't really end like that. But he like kind of breaks through him. See how they like, and then he's Vision. I just thought that part was super cool.
Yeah.
Because I thought the episode was
I thought you
actually
were
going to
talking
end right
about,
there.
like,
The actual
the
credits.
actual
That's why I was
credits.
like, no, like that's why I was like the fake
I
credits.
see.
I didn't know what else to call them. The
Yeah.
sitcom credits.
Yes.
Right? And then the whole thing breaks down for Wanda in that moment. And then the big ending to the episode, which I feel like you should bring me up to speed because it's her brother Pietro,
Yes.
but he's recast,
Yes.
as they say in the show. You recast Pietro? So that was the brother that died
In Age of Ultron.
in Age of Ultron.
Yes.
Okay. So what's up with that? Ooh wee! Oh, one of the best
What's Up
SNL
with
skits
That?
ever. I love it. If you haven't seen What's Up with That from SNL, check it out. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Oh.
What's up with that? You got Jason Sudeikis in the running suit. Oh, it's so good.
So he is supposed to be dead.
Pietro. Okay.
So X-Men, because Quicksilver is like an X-Men, and the X-Men franchise is owned by like Fox Studios, so the MCU couldn't really use any of those previous characters. So they used the guy that played Pietro in Age of Ultron. That's why it couldn't be Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver.
He wasn't it like a Spanish guy?
They're Sokovian.
Okay, because I was trying to remember, because I've seen Age of Ultron in theaters and I haven't seen it since then. So I was trying to remember what the brother looked like. I just remembered it obviously was not Evan Peters. Yeah.
I don't even remember his name, but that's why they had to use him instead of Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in the X-Men franchise, because the MCU didn't have the rights to the X-Men yet.
I also felt so stupid because you kept telling me that it was the Quicksilver, and I was like, oh, that's the silver guy on the surfboard. That's
The
Silver
Silver
Surfer, different guy, completely different person.
But yeah, so that's who that is in Age of Ultron, and then Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver in the X-Men franchise, that's who they like recast basically, because the MCU now has rights to X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Do you happen to know, because there's a couple of different eras of X-Men movies. There's like the original early 2000 ones. Obviously Evan Peters isn't in those because this was forever ago. But now you have like X-Men Apocalypse, I think is what
Yep.
it's called. X-Men First Class. Are those the movies that he's in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And he's in a couple of them?
Yep. He's
Okay.
in the Phoenix one, Dark Phoenix, the most recent one.
Oh, yeah.
also,
Okay.
with Sophia Turner, who plays Sansa Stark.
That one was supposed to be like not as good, right?
Yeah,
as the
it's pretty bad,
First
I've
Class,
heard, yeah.
and because I heard First Class, and I think Apocalypse sounds right, but it also sounds is that right? I heard that one in
Apocalypse Now.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Really? That one and First Class I heard were awesome, but I've never been like a big X-Men guy, so I don't know much about it. I did really like the Wolverine movies. All three of those I thought were awesome. Especially Logan was just a great movie. It's the only rated R like superhero movie I can think of besides Deadpool, and obviously Deadpool is
And
awesome.
Deadpool 2.
And Deadpool 2. I've actually never seen Deadpool 2.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I've seen the first one like 5 times. Love it. Never saw the second one for some reason.
Second one's not as good as the first one. But it's still
I've heard
really
it's pretty
good.
solid. Yeah. I watched Thor Ragnarok again the other day.
Nice.
What a funny movie. I love that movie.
Who are you saying was in Return of the King? That's in Ragnarok?
Scourge. The guy who at the very beginning he is like he has like the shake weight. He's like
right.
I have conquered everything. This is
That's
my
right,
stuff. And the ladies are like, ooh, stuff. Oh, that movie.
That's
The opening
right.
is so
Yeah.
funny. But then he like basically becomes Hela's right hand man to survive. Even though he
Just a
doesn't really want to
janitor.
be. Yeah, I'm just a humble janitor. Yeah. That movie's hilarious. But he plays, I don't remember his name, but he's in Two Towers and Return of the King.
Is he the son?
Not the son,
The
but
nephew or something?
he comes with.
He's like the main guy of Riders of Rohan.
Yes, he's with the Riders of Rohan. I couldn't remember their name, but he comes on when they go to attack Minas Tirith, he comes on the back attack with all the horses when they attack them from behind. He's with them, and he looks exactly like he does in
Except with hair.
exactly in Thor Ragnarok. So he does not age because that's like 15-year difference. He also plays. I recognize him from something else. He plays one of the right hand guys in the Star Trek reboot. He's like right hand guys with Chris Pine. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Cool.
So that guy just does a lot of roles, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so WandaVision. Sorry,
WandaVision.
we got off.
just a
This
little
is
bit.
the podcast. This is episode 38. It's not episode number 1. You know, you guys know how it goes by this point.
So a lot of people are excited that it is Evan Peters back as Pietro.
I love Evan Peters. I know him more from like American Horror Story is what I really know him from.
Yep. And it's kind of setting up that there will be X-Men, or setting up more of the multiverse, as people are starting to talk about it more. It looks like it's definitely going to be multiverse setup, basically.
In WandaVision or just in the MCU in general?
MCU in general.
Okay.
And that's kind of what WandaVision is going to be about, is those people in those towns and how Wanda can escape, or even people escape from Wanda. We still don't know who the real villain is.
Right. I could see it. So obviously, like, it is Wanda controlling it, but I could see if there is like another face that we're not seeing yet as like a big surprise. But I have 2 questions for you about WandaVision, right? Question number 1: do you think that after the show is over, Vision is gone for good, or do you think this is a way to resurrect him back into the storyline?
Let me contemplate about that.
I wish I was drinking coffee. It's green tea. Today's green tea and contemplation.
I don't know.
Because that's one of the most interesting parts of the whole show to me is the way
Yeah.
Vision sees everything, and the
I
fact
just
that
feel
he
like
is
he's-
dead, but he isn't.
Yeah, I feel like he's dead, especially because like he's a bot.
Dead.
The only way he could come back is if they make another artificial body with Jarvis, who is the mind behind Vision,
Yeah.
basically.
Stark built Vision?
Kind of. Ultron built him.
Okay. I thought Ultron was bad.
Yeah, but then,
See, I don't see like this whole backstory. I don't really know that
yeah,
well.
so Ultron wanted to become like a human body. He didn't want to be a robot. So he started building artificial tissue and hearts and everything like that. And then he needed the Mind Stone to become like a person.
Yeah,
basically.
as in like an AI, basically. Advanced AI.
And then Jarvis, who used to control Stark Industries and everything for Tony, there was still a part of him, and he was able to take control of that body, and realize what Ultron was doing was bad, and so kind of turn the tides and everything.
Okay. Because I will say this, I didn't really care that much about Vision until Infinity War, and then he plays a big role in that movie and then dies at the end. So I was pretty sad about that. But this is by far, I mean, it's a show about Vision and Wanda too, but this is the most I've cared about Vision because it's the most character development you get from him as a character, getting his own show. And so I would be really not disappointed, but it would be really sad if he was dead. But I do think also that he is dead. Because she literally goes and gets his corpse and is basically reanimating it in this alternate reality. Mm-hmm. So the question is inevitably when the alternate reality fails, is he gone forever? Gone forever. Yeah, and that's one of the most interesting parts of the show to me.
Yeah. But it's also weird too because he's acting like he knows what's going on, so it couldn't be like a portrayal from Wanda. You know?
Right. That's why I thought the ending of episode 5 was so interesting because he kind of went along with everything before where she has the kid or she gets impregnated with the kid and has it within a week. And then even in the beginning of this episode, the kids can age themselves and they go from babies to 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds all in one episode. And he's just kind of like, oh, okay. But this was the first episode that he's really like, something's weird here. And then like we talked about, he breaks into the mind of the coworker and the guy's like, I'm being held hostage. I don't want to be here. Then he finally confronts Wanda. And right when you think it's going to come to her telling him what happens, that's when the doorbell rings. Yeah, Agnes, but also that's when the doorbell rings. And
that's Pietro.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not doing this. And he's like, I don't believe you. And she's like, no, like, I'm really not doing this. Which, when I went back and watched it, so I don't think she brings Pietro back.
Yeah.
I think that's why what you mean. There might be a different person.
And also, the coworker never says it's Wanda controlling me. He just says she's controlling me.
Right, exactly.
So it could be Agnes.
It could be Agnes, absolutely. So that's why, dude, I think episode 6 is going to show us even more. But I don't know if we're going to get any actual answers until 7, 8, and 9. Because right now they're just playing with us, and they love it. And they love every second of it. And I love it, too. I like being on the edge, not knowing what's going to happen next. But I really want to know what's up with Vision, what's up with Pietro, if he's back for good, or if it's just a part of the alternate reality. There's so many factors going on, and this show is just ramping up in every way imaginable. And I love it, dude. This is one of my favorite things to come out of the MCU. I think in all the movies and everything, this is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah, and it makes me even more excited for... I was already excited for Loki, because that show looks sweet. But I think I'm even more excited now for Falcon Winter Soldier, just knowing how good the shows can be.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to... This is the first one, really, so I didn't know what to expect from it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that was my other, I guess, offhand kind of question, too, was, so do you think Pietro's back for good, or do you think he's back until they figure out they stop Wanda, if they ever do stop her, from producing this alternate reality in this city?
We need episode 6.
Yes, we do. That was the crazy part, is like when Wanda says she's not doing this, and she seems genuinely surprised that Pietro's there, it doesn't sound like she's the one that brought him back. Yeah. There's so much that we need to figure out, man. Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Lost, the show Lost. That show was perfect because throughout the season, all they would do, there would be a million questions that the fans had, right? And all they would do was build and build and build the amount of questions until the season finales when they would answer a lot of them. That's exactly what this show is doing. It's just adding more mystery. And we have, even when it seems like something's solved, like Vision's like, oh, I'm figuring this out, boom, new mystery. Yep. And it's awesome. The writing is so good. Yep. We need episode 6 on Friday. Ad? Are you playing the when he's singing? By the way, that fucking guy, dude, is a dick. Yeah. I forgot about how much of a dick that guy is. He's alive. Oh, get out of here, Pippin. We'll talk about it. I hate that guy.
Behind the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread through shadow to the edge of night.
perfect. All
Do we have to cut any of that out for YouTube?
Fade. We didn't get flagged last week, and we kept some of the transition songs in, so I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
Unless, do you want to play it? Can you play it through the... Well, I guess we already played it. No, we'll be fine. If it gets taken down, then we'll know. I guess we'll know for sure.
Yeah.
Because you get a couple warnings before your channel gets banned.
Okay.
But hopefully not. You know what I mean? So today we're talking about the one and the only Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Obviously, the last 2 weeks we talked about Fellowship of the Ring. Well, I guess it was more than 2 weeks. But the last two episodes, we talked about Fellowship of the Ring and then The Two Towers. So today, we're talking about Return of the King. And I just want to start off with this. So the movie won 11 Oscars. Tied for the most ever in a movie with Titanic, right? And I think the most impressive part about this is that this movie came out in 2003. And nerd culture was not what it is now back in 2003. So the fact that this super nerdy movie won so many Oscars is just tells you how good the movie is, right? So I'm just going to tell you all the Oscars the movie won. So it won Best Picture winner, Best Director, Peter Jackson, Best Writing / Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Art Direction and Set Direction, of course, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup, Best Music Original Score, Best Music Original Song, and it's the song that plays in the credits, Heading West or something like that, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Visual Effects, for a total of 11. Insane. Dude, this movie's so fucking good. Tell me what you think about Return of the King. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in.
Each time I watch it, I always forget how good it is.
Yes.
Also, it's a tearjerker sometimes.
Oh my God, yes, dude. Oh my God. I teared up a couple times, and there was one moment that I was actually like bawling. But we'll talk about that when we get like into the plot. But what parts made you really kind of tear up?
Kind of the beginning, honestly.
With Smeagol?
With Smeagol.
Yeah, so sad.
Because you see what the ring does to him.
It reminded me of a lot, because him and his friend are in the boat, and they're just hanging out. It reminded me of a lot of like Frodo and Sam, or Merry and Pippin, where they're just innocent, having fun, hobbits, and then very quickly it turns on its head.
So that part's pretty sad. And then when Frodo tells Sam to go home,
So sad.
Because Gollum is...
He's basically tricking Frodo.
Yeah, being very manipulative of trying to get the ring back by killing Frodo. Well, not him personally.
Right.
But
he knows to get to Frodo, he has to get Sam out of the picture first.
Yes.
Because Sam is not taking any of it. Sam's like, dude, this guy's tricking you. And Frodo's like, no, Sam. Like, Frodo, you freaking idiot. You should trust this guy that you've known your entire life more than you should trust this little weird creature, right? But going back to the very beginning, I forgot it kind of shows the transition from him into Smeagol. And that's when he looks the creepiest, I think. Before he's Gollum, I guess is what you would call it. But when he's like halfway in between, and he's like half hobbit, half creature, he looks so creepy, dude. So creepy. And he's just like rolling through the mountain by himself. That opening is so intense. Yeah. And I like that they waited until, I don't know how the books did it, but I like that they waited until the third movie to show that transition. Because I think it made it even more intense to start the movie off like, hey, this is something we didn't, we talked about it, but we didn't show exactly what happened with him before. Great opening to the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously the ending.
The ending, of course.
The ending, which we'll talk about in more detail later on, but dude, the ending literally had me in like full-on man tears. Like full-on, which I knew how it ended, but I forgot just how emotionally bittersweet it is. But we'll talk about that. But yeah, the scene with, it's like, just go home, Sam, and Sam's crying. Dude, I can't. Okay, I wanted to talk, I wrote a couple things down. Dude, the Witch King is so badass. And but I will talk. So I was watching the movie last night, and I had the movie on like really loud because you got to get into it, right? And whenever that thing screeches, dude, my dog Ellie, gone. She hated the screeching noise. She was dead asleep, and then the thing screeches when you first see it, and it's breaking out of Mordor, I guess. And he goes, ah! Ellie like was dead asleep. She wakes up, out of the room, gone,
Wow.
all the way to a different part of the house. And I was like, I'm sorry, come, I didn't know, come back. What do you think about the Witch King, man? Because he's badass,
yeah, terrifying but badass.
terrifying for sure.
Eowyn
Mm-hmm.
kills him.
Yep, Eowyn kills him. That scene, I remembered it like word for word because it's so iconic, but just the when it happens is so sick because first I forgot that Pippin saves her because she takes Pippin into battle.
Mary.
Sorry, Mary, yes. She takes Mary into battle because no one else will. And I like when my lady. I love I love that part. But he's about to kill Eowyn, and he stabs him in the back of the leg, and
Yeah.
then he kneels because he goes, no man can kill me, and then she gets stabbed in the back of the leg, and he like goes down to one knee, and she takes her helmet off, and all the music just stops. I am no man. Oh, it's so badass. And I thought she cut his head off, but she just stabs him directly in the face, and I think that's even more brutal. That's so badass, dude. I was like, oh yes.
He like shrinks.
He like shrivels up. He like melts away almost. So epic, dude. Just that whole fight scene is epic. So that was that during the Minas
Minas
Tirith
Tirith,
battle,
yeah.
the first one. Yeah. So let's break it up into two parts. So there's like three storylines kind of in this movie. There's Sam, Frodo, and Gollum trying to get the ring to Mount Doom. There's the battle for Minas Tirith, and then at the end there's the second battle where they're
Blackgate.
the Black Gate because they're trying to distract
Sauron.
Sauron. Yes. And which battle is your favorite battle in the movie?
In the movie, it's probably Minas Tirith.
Yeah, that battle is insanely cool.
It's just longer.
Yeah, it is longer, and a lot of epic stuff happens in that battle.
I always thought too, when the Riders of Rohan get there and everything, and,
Yeah.
and the king is like hitting their swords and everything.
Oh, it's so
and
cool.
He's like saying his speech, and then when they start yelling death,
Yeah,
I always
death!
thought they just yelled, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he goes, death! And then they all go, death! Okay, they're ready.
Yeah.
Like, they're ready for a battle, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
So that
Yeah.
was something I didn't notice a lot of the times until I watched it most recently. So.
Sure. I feel like that just happens when you watch movies continuously and you haven't seen them in a long time. You notice stuff that you haven't before. And this had been the longest. I've seen Fellowship and Two Towers more than I've seen Return of the King, which is ironic because I think Return of the King is my favorite movie. But so I hadn't seen this one in maybe 4 or 5 years. And dude, it's so damn good. But that battle of Minas Tirith is so awesome. That's the iconic one when Gimli and Legolas are counting as they're going through. And then Legolas takes down one of the Oliphants. And he's like, that still just counts as one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
Last week, I forgot to bring it up, but during Helm's Deep, when they're like, the orcs are just kind of like standing there and pounding and everything.
Yeah.
And Gimli goes, "What's happening out
Oh,
there?"
yeah.
And Legolas just goes, "Do you want me to get you? Do you want me to describe it to you, or do you want me to get you a box?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. They're standing at the wall, and all
Yeah.
you see is like Gimli's helmet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, dude. I love Gimli because he's like kind of the comedic relief, but he's also badass
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, because we can talk about the Black Gate
Yep.
fight now because they're all standing there after they won at Minas Tirith and everything, and they're saying how if Sauron had the ring, they would know it, and
Right.
it's only a matter of time, and there's like and Sauron's armies are in between them, and Gandalf says like, "I sent him to his death."
Yeah.
And then Aragorn says, "Let's draw his armies out and everything."
Which I was thinking about that. That's the only time you really hear Gandalf doubt Frodo in the entire movie. And it's not that he's doubting him. I mean, it's Frodo and Sam versus 10,000 orcs in between them and their goal. But throughout the entire movie, he's like, no, you have to trust him, Frodo. He's going to do it. And that's the first time that he's like, I sent him to his death. And I was like, oh, shit, like that's intense.
Yeah. And then, Aragorn says, like, let's draw his armies out and everything. And then Gandalf says Sauron will know it's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gimli just in the back, he's like, small chance of survival, or no, high chance of death, small chance of survival. What are we waiting for?
Yeah. And then two, Gimli, who's one of my favorite characters in the whole trilogy. I love when they're going into the caves to get the undead soldiers. I forgot exactly what they're called, which I thought that was only in the extended edition. I didn't realize that in my mind, there is more of it in the extended edition.
Yes,
I know
there
that.
is.
But for some reason, I thought that was only in the extended
Yeah,
edition.
you know
So I'm
how they,
glad
like,
it was still in this one.
Yeah, you know how they like run in all
Mhm.
like terrified kind of before they meet the king?
Yeah.
Like in the extended version, they're like fighting a lot of the dead. and
Gotcha,
everything.
fighting their way in.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was a hilarious part that I liked because Gimli's like, "Oh, I'm horrified. I don't want to go in there." And then he's like, "Oh, but I'd never hear the end of it." And he goes in with them. So funny, dude. Okay, so let's talking about Gimli, right? Actually, I'll save that question for later.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously we led into the segment with the All Shall Fade song. Dude, that's one of my favorite moments in all of movies. That movie, like, that's one of those scenes where I'll just be doing something completely random in my life and I'll just think about that scene and I'll just get chills.
Mhm.
It's so good. But I want to talk about, his name starts with a D, but I don't remember it. But that guy who, his son is Boromir and Faramir.
Faramir, yeah.
That guy is a total piece of shit in this movie.
Yes, he is.
He's awful.
I can't remember his name either.
I can look it up real
He's-
quick, but it starts with a D, but it's
yeah,
something.
He's like the steward of Gondor
Mhm.
or something.
Yep, I think that's right.
Um,
I'll look it up real quick. But yeah, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on him in the movie, because I forgot. I remember him being annoying, but he's like totally a terrible person in so many ways.
yeah, so he doesn't listen to Pippin when he says his son's alive.
Mhm.
He believes that his line is done, that there's not going to be any more of his offspring.
Which is funny that's the part that annoyed me so hard because he's saying like, he's like, "Oh, my line is dead, my line is dead," and I'm like, "Your line is literally alive, and you're about to burn him to death. Like,
Yep.
what are you talking about?" But Pippin says it best. He basically just goes, he lost his mind. Like
Yes.
he goes to Gandalf and he's like, he's lost his mind. He's about to burn Faramir alive. But I think when he looks out, that was such an epic scene too. When he looks out from Minas Tirith and sees the army, and he's like, all is lost. Like this
Yeah.
is over. I think that's kind of when he cracks, and I
Yeah.
think he wants to just end it his own way by
Yeah.
killing his son. And I don't know if he wanted to kill himself or not, but ultimately he ends up
Yeah.
dying. I think it
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
really
he
says,
does.
but he's on fire.
And he jumps off the
That's right.
edge.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But so I think he was just at a loss of hope and everything, and it was also such a dick move too when Faramir asks him. He's like, "Oh, so you wish I had died instead?" And he goes, "Yes, I do wish that." He looks him right in the eyes,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, 100%."
Yeah.
That's so
And
cold,
that's why
dude.
he rides out with that small army.
Which is, I guess, is kind of a third battle in the movie as
Yeah.
well.
And then he gets 2 arrows to him, and that's why they think he's dead, but he's not.
He definitely looks dead when he's on the shield. I don't even know exactly how Pippin knew he was alive. I think maybe
Probably
he
felt
like,
the pulse. or
yeah,
something
because
like
he's
that.
standing right over or he's like kneeling over his body, so maybe
Uh-huh.
he feels a pulse. That's probably exactly what it is. But I hate that guy. It's funny because he's like the only person on the good side that I just can't stand, dude.
Yeah.
I'm still looking up his name. Denethor. Denethor. Denethor.
Right.
Denethor. Denethor, I think. Yeah, but I hate that character, and I'm glad he went out the way he did, and I'm glad that Faramir survives as well.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about, so Frodo and Sam had a great relationship going into this movie, obviously, right? And even though they have heartbreaking moments in this movie, Frodo tells Sam to leave. Sam cries and leaves. We cry watching it, but then Sam finds the bread at the bottom of the passage and decides to go back and help Frodo, which Frodo definitely would have died if it wasn't for Sam, right? Dude, is there anything better in life than when Sam comes back? I don't know if he kills the spider, but he definitely like hurts it really bad, and saves Frodo, and then thinks he's dead, which is heartbreaking. And I see why. Like, Frodo's not blinking and not moving. And then he goes and hides. The orcs come and pick up Frodo, and Sam goes, "Oh, Sam, why is you fool?" Because he's just poisoned. But then he goes back and saves him again. Is there anything better than that, dude? I love when he's coming up the stairs, and it's like the shadow, and the orcs are so scared, and they see that it's just Sam, and they're like, "Oh." And then Sam kills him anyways. Oh, dude, so badass. So even with the ups and downs in the movie, Sam and Frodo have, like, maybe the best bromance of all time, right? Like, they're together. So this is what I wanted to ask you, right? So, great relationship that they have. Merry and Pippin also have a fantastic relationship together, right? Now, also, I would say that Gimli and Legolas also have a fantastic bromance throughout the trilogies. Yeah, so out of all of the relationships, the bromances in these movies, who do you think has the number one best? Is it Frodo and Sam, or would you make an argument?
It's Sauron and Saruman.
Yeah, I didn't even put on the list. Damn it, Brent. Damn it. But I would almost argue too that it's Merry and Pippin, because when he goes and saves him on the battlefield, he's like, "I knew you would come for me." Oh, I forgot about that part altogether. That part's insanely cool.
Yeah. And then when they go to Minas Tirith, Merry's talking to Pippin, and Pippin says, "When will I see you again?" Or
yeah, he's like, "Will I see you again? Will I see you again?"
Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like so worried when they're gonna see each other again.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Where they're going, what's happening.
Yep, he just cares about him basically. Yeah. So like they come together in this movie too, and then there's another sweet moment. I don't remember exactly when it happens. I think it's when they're going to the Black Gate, but Gimli says something. And then Legolas is like, "How about doing it with a friend, with a dear friend?"
Yep.
And Gimli has like a big smile on it. Gimli has like a big smile on his face, and he's like, "That sounds great."
Yeah,
I was like, "That's such a sweet moment too."
I think it's along the lines of like, "I wouldn't think I would die fighting with an elf."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
dying with a friend,
a dear friend. Yeah.
And he says, "I like that."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what he says. I like that. Dude, see, so many good connections in this movie. And so, do you think Frodo and Sam win, or do you think they've got some competition?
They've
in this
definitely
movie?
got some competition.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What hurts them the most is that
they were
Frodo
so
was
close.
a dumbass.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes me even madder is that Frodo was just like, "I trust freaking Gollum over you," but then he realizes it right away. He's like, "I'm sorry, Sam. I'm sorry." But dude, good on Sam for being like, "You know what? I'm gonna be the bigger man. I found the bread. Obviously, Gollum's trying to hurt Frodo. I need to go help him," and ends up saving his life. But dude, let's talk about the spider for a second. That spider is
Shelob.
Shelob, yeah, freaking menacing, dude. And this movie's almost 20 years old. Hard to believe, but almost 20 years old. This spider still looks horrifying and terrifying to this day. The part that like the pincers, hey, the part that I think horrified me the most, because I just felt like icky about it, was when Frodo's running and he gets caught in the webs, and he just like can barely move. Oh, that would be horrifying, dude. And the giant spiders like coming.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
Gollum,
gosh, dude.
Too, in the back, he's like, "Little fly."
Yeah,
little
just
web."
like singing. Oh my god, horrifying, dude, horrifying. But dude, Sam comes in and just destroys the spider. I don't think he kills the spider, but I also don't know how the spider would survive. It never says. Maybe the books say, or maybe the extended version.
It's been a while since I've seen the extended version.
In the movie, in the regular edition, which we just watched, he stabs the spider a couple times, and the spider kind of goes away into its cave. So it's either really badly hurt or it dies.
Yeah.
But either way, he saves Frodo. But dude, just imagine like Frodo gets wrapped up in all the webs and everything, and he's just like a cocoon on the floor. Ugh, I hate that. Oh, it's terrible. Connor would hate that movie, dude. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so then while this battle is going on at the Black Gate, Frodo and Sam get to the top of Mount Doom. Freaking Gimli has to make Gollum has to make one more final attempt to be a dick. He comes out, he tackles them. They end up winning the fight, but before that, Frodo succumbs to the power of the ring, which I forgot that happened. Totally forgot. I did. Like I said, it had been a while. And he goes, "No, the ring is mine." And you just see Sam's like crestfallen. He's like, "No, dude." So he puts on the ring to go invisible. But then Gollum, I forgot he bit his finger off. He jumps on him and he bites his finger off to get the ring.
Yeah, he knocks Sam out with a rock.
Yep. Yeah, because he comes up from behind. Because you think they kind of already got rid of him, but he's still around because he's a little bitch, dude. And so he comes up and he bites Frodo's finger off, which is like brutal. Yep. And then he has the ring. And then him and Frodo kind of tackles himself and Gollum over the side. Yep. I remember that's how Gollum died. He falls into the lava with the ring. So, like, he kind of died happily, I guess, because he died with the ring in his hand. Yeah. And he's, like, smiling until he's not.
Then he hits the lava, and he's like, well.
Yeah. Well, I'm screwed, right? Yeah. I got kind of confused for a second because he dies, like, immediately because it's lava, right? But the ring is just kind of floating around for a second. And I was thinking, like, does the ring doesn't survive, like, what happens to the ring? But it just takes a little bit. It's forged perfectly, right? So it just takes a little bit for it to melt in the lava. But then the ring melts. Sam saves Frodo, barely. Like, Frodo almost falls. And then I forgot, too, that the ring causes the mountain to kind of explode. That was such a cool scene. So the ring causes the mountain to explode, and all of Mordor explodes. The whole floor comes out. The eye tower collapses. Such a cool scene. I forgot I remember the tower collapsing, but I forgot that the whole army dies by, like, falling in the giant pit that opens up. And that scene, like, 20 years old, it still looks so damn good, dude. So good. I can see why it won so many Oscars because I'm sure even watching the movie in 2003 was so mind-blowing. And that scene's amazing. But then I forgot that when all the lava rushes down, it strands Frodo and Sam on the rock. And Sam gives his little speech about the girl he would want to marry if he could ever marry somebody. That kind of made me tear up a little bit, too, because it's like happy tears almost. I remember they survived, but I forgot how. But then, dude, Gandalf comes in on the eagles, dude, and they just run in and grab him with the talons. Oh, it's so cool. And the scene when they're flying away and you just see Frodo over the lava. The cinematography in this movie is just insanity, dude. Yeah, so then they crown Aragorn because he is the heir to the throne. He pardons or he releases the whole army of the dead, which is another sweet moment because they get to be at peace. Yep, they get to be at peace. And I loved, so they crown Aragorn. He's walking down the stairs. He gets to finally, since the first movie, see Arwen. There's no O.
No O.
Arwyn.
Yep.
He gets to see Arwen. They get to be together happy. Sweet moment. Maybe my favorite moment in the whole movie. They're walking. Everybody's like applauding and everything. They see the four hobbits, Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam, and they bow. And he goes, "You guys bow to no one." And then he and Arwen bow, and everybody bows. I forgot about that scene too. That scene is so cool, Cam. That scene gave me chills so hard. Amazing. And then the last thing I had written down was just the end of the movie. So like I was telling you right before we recorded, I forgot how freaking old Bilbo is, dude. Holy crap. And then he's like, you know what? I think I'm ready for another adventure. How, Bilbo?
They're riding off to their death.
Right, but it's because not everybody though.
Basically.
Right? That's the confusing. So I've had this debate before with people, right? That's kind of the because they're going to the Undying Lands. So what does that? That's what I was going to ask you. What does that mean exactly?
They're dead but not dead.
Because Gandalf gives that great speech to Pippin earlier in the movie or Merry earlier in the movie about what death really is, and he goes, "Oh, that doesn't sound so bad." And he's like smiling, and then Gandalf also says, "It's not." You know what I mean? So I think that like the end of the movie, I feel like the books do a better job probably of describing what's going on. So what did you get out of that when you watched it?
I thought they were just going to a different area.
Yeah, they're going to it's called the Undying Lands, the Grey Havens.
Yes.
But they don't really explain much of what that is.
I pulled it up.
Okay, what does the internet say? Because the internet's always right.
Yep. The Undying Lands is considered a mystical land home of the Valar, angelic beings, also known as the Masters of Spirits.
Okay.
Now, as to why they made the journey, there seems to only be speculation.
Okay.
Although the most common agreement is that Tolkien chose to have his beloved characters travel there seemingly to remain in order for them to live forever.
So, okay, so they're going there to basically live supernatural lives, in a sense.
It has been pointed out, though, as mortals, eternal life would not be an option for the hobbits. So perhaps we should consider it more a happy retirement.
So, Frodo and Bilbo are going to live out their days happily. Bilbo has maybe 3 days left because he's so old, dude. And then Gandalf and the elves are going to go become immortal beings. Essentially, right? Is kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, it says they would live long, sheltered, contented lives until they chose to move on and supposedly die.
Okay. So they cannot become immortal, it sounds
Yeah.
like. But that's what's interesting to me because Frodo wants to move on from the Shire because he wants to go on to something else, right?
Yeah, and also when he's talking to Sam, he's talking about like that blade cut. He says it's never properly healed.
Right.
So
Yeah, he's still poisoned throughout the entire
Yeah.
trilogy, which you kind of forget about. Yeah. I've definitely talked to people that think that Frodo died, like Frodo is dead not dead at the end, but he's going off for his death. And I've understood that theory, but watching it again this time, that's not what I think happens. But I'm just confused a little bit because I feel like Frodo could live just as happily in the Shire as he could going on. But what I think is that in this trilogy, which takes over 13 months, I didn't know that, but he says that at the end of this movie. He's like 13 months to the day. I think that was the first time he ever left the Shire, was to go on this big journey. And I think he got so much fulfillment out of it that he wanted to go see what else was out there beyond the Shire.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he decides to leave.
Yeah, and I think too, since it's like the Undying Lands, I think something like his blade cut won't hurt him there
Sure.
anymore. Something like
That would make sense. Like he may not be immortal, but he won't live in pain the rest of his
Yeah.
life. Yeah, that would make sense. But that goodbye scene is so heartbreaking. So first they say goodbye to Gandalf, which is sad enough. Then they realize Gandalf reaches out his hand and he's like, "Come on, Frodo, like it's time to go." And they all look at Frodo and they're all just already crying, which a little upsetting. Frodo doesn't cry. A little upsetting. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, "Come on, Frodo, like you want to cry. You know what I mean?" You cried with Sam on the rock, the two of you guys. So come on. But he says goodbye to Merry and Pippin, which is super sad, like, bittersweet. Like I said, very bittersweet moment. But when he says goodbye to Sam and gives him the book, oh, dude, that's when I was just tears, man, just insane, just salt all over my face, dude. It's such a bittersweet moment because Frodo's going off to a better place. Sam, Merry, and Pippin are going off to a better place to go back to their lives that they want to go to.
Sam's married, has kids.
Yep. Yeah, that wedding scene was really cool. And I love, too, the character development. The end of the third movie parallels the beginning of the first movie perfectly. And you see in the beginning of the first movie, Sam's like afraid to go talk to that girl, and Frodo has to like push her into her. In this movie, he's like, "Well, I've experienced a lot now. I'm ready to go after what I want." So no one even says anything. He just stands up from the table and goes over to talk to her.
Chugs his beer.
Yeah, a little courage. Yep. And then you see the next scene is
Liquid courage.
Liquid courage. Yep. The next scene you see is them getting married, which was fantastic. But I love too when they go back to the Shire, the three of them, obviously without Frodo and Gandalf. They like nod to the guy. And there's like a random gardener, right?
Yeah.
In the first movie, that guy's like hates how much noise they make, and they're like dumb kids. And even though they're heroes to everybody else, coming back into the village, they nod at him, and he's like so salty about
Frodo's
it.
with them when they do that too. That's when they.
That's right. That's
first
before
come
they
back.
leave. That's right. All four of them do it.
That's the first time they come back to this.
That's
Shire.
right. That's before they leave. Exactly. Yeah. And dude, it's so funny because like even though they just saved the world, this guy's still like these kids, dude. Like that scene was so funny. Yeah. So the way they tied all that back together was beautiful, man.
Yeah. It also kind of shows like how the Shire is just like a blissful life. Like you don't know. You just know about life in the Shire. You don't really.
You don't know about beyond.
What's beyond.
Even they talked about it in the first movie. Even Frodo and Sam had no idea what was beyond the Shire.
Yeah, in Two Towers, when they see the Oliphants, they're like, nobody home will believe this.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. No one would ever believe this. Like their minds are just constantly getting blown throughout the entire movie. Imagine going from like living such a sheltered life to seeing the stuff they see. They handle it pretty well, I'd say. What a trilogy, dude. It's got to be one of the best trilogies ever. Like, absolutely. And I was going to ask you this. It's hard to compare, but you feel so fulfilled and there's so much closure at the end of this movie. The only trilogy that I think rivals that amount of closure is Star Wars, because you figure out what all the characters are going to do. They're all going to live happy lives, quote unquote, because then obviously the new trilogy, they kind of upended that a little bit. But which trilogy do you think does a better job of ending the trilogy? Because Star Wars was always one of my favorites ever. I think Lord of the Rings
I think it ends
is probably my favorite ever. Yeah, it ends. There's nothing else you could ask for. It's perfect. It's perfect.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in Lord of the Rings? Any of the movies? Okay, so we just finished Lord of the Rings. Next week, we're going to start with Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, which will be fun to watch because when I saw that movie in theaters, which we will tell that story next week because it's a pretty crazy story, I had not seen Lord of the Rings in a couple of years before that. So now watching them almost back to back, it'll be really fun to see how everything ties in together. Let's do the outro and then do Music Mondays.
Yeah. They can't hear Leaves from the Vine on the video, so.
That's right. So I'm saying we'll just do like a regular outro. Okay. So we're going to do a special outro. So what we do is we do Music Mondays on this show. But now that we're going to be doing video on YouTube, we can't play those songs for you guys. So if you want to hear the songs, go ahead and check out the podcast. Same title as it is on YouTube. And we just have to give you guys a special goodbye. So thank you guys for watching. I've been Brent.
I've been Cam.
We appreciate you guys. And we're going to work on getting the audio better, getting the video better. We're still figuring this out, very new to the video. It's only our second week doing it. But we appreciate all you guys that watch. And we hope to see you guys next week. Bye for now.